There are teammates in cycling who hate each other because although sports directors try to seek the best possible atmosphere in any cycling team, whenever two alpha males get together in the same corral, there are usually serious problems, and history always repeats itself. So, do you want to know some of the best known cases of teammates who hated each other? Without further ado, let the show begin. Bernard Hinault and Greg LeMond. Two of the greatest cyclists of all time were teammates in Bernard Tapie's French team La Vie Claire in the mid-1980s. The Frenchman was a legend, a four-time Tour de France champion, and the up-and-coming gringo was just starting to stand out, winning a place on the Tour podium and the World Cycling Championships despite his tender age. For the 1985 Tour de France, Badger Hinault said that he would work for LeMond, who was much fitter during the season, but it was not to be. He attacked him everywhere possible, and he took advantage of the American's youthful mistakes to end up winning by less than 2 minutes, partially thanks to the help of the Colombian Lucho Herrera in the mountains. Hinault fulfilled his dream to be a 5-time Tour champion, and LeMond could not believe it. The guy who had sworn to defend him had attacked him wherever he could, just to win in Paris, and so he threatened to leave the team. Bernard Hinault then assured him that he would now work for LeMond in the following year's Tour de France. And it seemed that way at first, but again in the 1986 Tour, Hinault decided to attack in a bid to become the first rider to win a 6th Tour de France. In a show of superiority, he decided to go on the attack, even when he was wearing the leader's yellow jersey. But it was too much for him, and he ended up being caught by LeMond's group, and the American overtook him in the general classification. It was a real downer for LeMond, and Hinault defended himself by saying that he was defending LeMond and ensuring that other rivals would have to work. Finally, they crossed the line in the Alpe d'Huez stage holding hands as good friends, but the tension that year, in which LeMond won and Hinault was second, exceeded any normal limits. Abraham Olano and Jose Maria Jimenez. These two Spanish cyclists had the difficult task of replacing the legendary Miguel Indurain in the ranks of the Benesto team. Olano, signed with Mapei's checkbook, was an excellent time trialist who suffered in the mountains, but had been under the expert guidance of the legendary Dr. Ferrari and was a world champion. Jimenez had been all his life in the Benesto structure, and as a result he was an excellent climber but a lousy time trialist, and this despite being over 185 centimeters tall, almost 6'1". He was a fan favourite for his continuous attacks that could end very badly if not managed well, while Olano was criticised for his conservatism. The two riders faced each other for nothing less than the 1998 Vuelta a España, where they beat a Lance Armstrong who had not yet been tuned up by Moto Man. Jimenez won as many as 4 stages in the mountains by attacking while his leader struggled to hold on in the few mountain climbs of that edition. However, in the long time trials, the Basque cyclist recovered all the lost ground, and Benesto knew that he was the winning card for that Vuelta. Olano's wife criticised Shabakano Chava harshly on the radio, and Jimenez kept attacking even though he couldn't quite manage the victory of a third. Finally, Olano won and Jimenez was third. But so much chaos had been caused that the winner of that Vuelta had to leave the team and join the Once squad of Manolo Sanz, Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador. Possibly the greatest duel in recent cycling history was experienced by these two legendary cyclists. Armstrong was returning to racing 4 years after his retirement, and Contador was the fashionable climber who had already won 3 Grand Tours and at only 26 years of age. The two joined Johan Bruyneel's Astana team for the 2009 Tour de France, and the gringo side did everything possible to destroy the man who would later become known as Mr. Steak. George Hincapie's gang stole a time trial bike from Contador, who had to pay for one out of his own pocket, and agreed to let Mr. Armstrong ahead on the flat stages, while the Spaniard suffered in the wind and was left behind. The future vegetarian, however, was able to pull himself together in the mountains, where his physical form was evidently much better than that of a 38-year-old man, who of course did not take kindly to Contador's triumph. The tension was such that the two ended up in different teams the following season. A duel that certainly deserves an episode on the channel, if you give the video a good like. Bradley Wiggins and Christopher Froome. A very similar case to Olano and Jimenez. Wiggins prepared brilliantly for his assault on the 2012 Tour de France, where he would hold on thanks to his experience in time trials. But Froome was a new kid on the block, the star of the future, who ascended like the angels thanks to his therapeutic use authorization. It was the white Kenyan who was responsible for embarrassing his teammate at Sky, already dressed in the yellow leader's jersey, dropping him in several mountain passes and then slowing down to make it clear to the planet that he, and only he, that lanky gregario, was the strongest man in the race. Wiggins swept the time trials and won the Tour de France, while Froome joined him in second place. However, his fight, which included their wives in the middle with cross declarations, meant that Wiggins never returned to the race that crowned him as the best cyclist in the world that season. Enric Mas and Miguel Angel Lopez. In the Vuelta a España 2021, both riders rode as leaders of the decadent Movistar team. After several controversial decisions throughout the race, both riders were on the podium with the last day to go. But a misunderstanding between Mas, Lopez and the team directors themselves, who were more concerned with becoming viral in a documentary inside the team than winning, led to the Colombian climber being left behind, and in a fit of rage he abandoned the race and the team. As both told us in the documentary, at the end of the stage sparks flew in the hotel, insults abounded and harsh comments continued for hours between the two riders. Finally, Mas remained as a pseudo-leader in Movistar, and Lopez does the same in Astana. A duel that at least has generated money in the form of drama around Remco Evenepoel and Wout van Aert. Possibly the two best all-rounders in the world peloton today have the misfortune of sharing nationality, and therefore team as well in the Road Cycling World Championships. And this has generated numerous controversies. In 2021, the still boy Remco publicly complained about his role as Van Aert's laborious partner for the Leuven Worlds, and behaved as such with a veritable exhibition of riding in those championships where the Jumbo-Visma rider failed in his goals. The cross statements were so harsh that even the wives of both cyclists had to get in the middle. For this 2022 edition, after Remco's triumph in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the Quick-Step rider has already asked for the captaincy of the Belgian national team, and they will have to be very careful in determining who was the most impressive rooster in the world cycling pen. So who do you support? Remco or Wout? Leave it in the comments and we'll see you in the next show.